Ever been listening to your favorite podcast and think, hey, I want to start my own? Then you need Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, everyone's favorite word free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to my podcast. And I do not have a synopsis this week. We're going straight in. The book I want to talk about is titled All the Way. Her name is Ari Glenn, and this book originally started on Wattpad, but I think she got a lot of love on Wattpad, so she, took it down, got an editor, edited the book, and she put it up for sale. And I highly recommend that you guys get it. Um, I think I'm gonna put it in the description, the link to it, because I don't know if it's on Amazon or not. I didn't get it from Amazon. Like I used to be on Wattpad heavily, so I followed her and I read the story there first. And I loved it so much that when she put it up for sale, I also bought it. Um, but it's another hood love story, but it's so good. I don't know what it is about this book because I don't want to say it's another hood story, but I guess in some way it is, but I don't know. Maybe it's her style of writing. I just love it. Like I'm gushing about this book because I really love it. Um, the main character, I just love her so much. Her name is Ryan. And actually, it's so funny because the one thing about Wattpad is, if you are familiar, it's how they use characters. And so when you find these people in the real world, um, because her main characters, sorry, like I'm gushing and rambling. Her name is Chris Amore on IG. Like she's actually what's her name? Breezy on what is that show called? All American. She's her fiance, but she's like a real life makeup artist and stuff like that. And so she used her as her character. So I'm like, I fell in love with the book idea of her. I went and followed her on Instagram. She's a really pretty lady. But anyway, so Ryan is what is she? She's a makeup artist. No, that's real life her. She's a esthetician, I believe. Like she does facials, um, she does works with the blades and like stuff for the face and stuff like that, and eyebrows and all that type of stuff. Um, and she's dating a guy named Mike, and Mike is like a drug dealer who has a son named Michael Jr. And first she's dealing with the drama of being with somebody like Mike because Mike pops pills, he's abusive, so and he's been caught cheating before, so their relationship is like real crazy. And finally she has enough because I think she catches him cheating again, so she's like, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm done. um and she actually like bleached all his stuff, messed up his house before she moved out. But the thing is, like their friend group, they're all intertwined. And she also watches Mike's friends, Gabriel, who goes by Gotti. She watches his son, Gabe, from time to time. So she's still coming to MJ's football games. And of course, she's still watching Gabe. So in that time, while she's sad about her breakup with Mike, her and Gabe started to get closer. And it's funny because at first, when she first broke up with him, because she went back before, nobody believed her when she said she was done. And they're like, oh, you'll get back with him. This is just a thing. You and your feelings right now. And I can understand how that pissed her off because it's like, okay, yeah, I was done before, but if I'm saying that I'm done for real this time and all of y'all just blowing me off, I would be pissed too. But it's like, in that same regard, you just got to take it. Because if you've done that before and it's just like, okay, why is this time any different? You really ain't got to prove nothing to anybody else. You got to prove it to yourself that you're not going to go back to that situation. So she doesn't. Um, and her and Gotti start getting closer and they start dating because he was coming over to check on her. And at one point, his apartment got flooded. So he needed Gabe to stay with her, and then he was gonna stay in a hotel while he's also, you know, sorry y'all, I got cut off. I think where I left off, he his apartment flooded, so Gabe was staying with Ryan for a while, and it's just a lot of them talking, getting closer, because although they would speak, say hi and bye, they wouldn't really talk like that while she was dating Mike, but now they've grown closer. And it's really just a friend thing until it became like what they called a special friendship where they would kiss occasionally, lay up with each other, fall asleep together, but there was no sex going on or anything like that until they decided to give it like a real go. And they were keeping it under wraps at first because he didn't want to confuse Gabe because Gabe called her TT Ryan. And at some point, I think he asked her about being his mommy or saying that he wanted a mommy because his mom is not in the picture. And Gotti explained like he told him once before, but Gabe is like 4, I believe. He's either 3 or 4. So he's young. He's not gonna fully understand what Gotti was trying to say. Like you have a mom, but she's just not around. So he just thinks he doesn't have one at all. And he's in what's that age? Preschool, kindergarten, 4 or 5. Where he sees other kids with their parents and he feels like he should have that too. So when they come out with their relationship, he asks, can I call you mommy now? And at first she looks to Gotti because the one thing I love about Ryan, it was all about respect. It's like I'm gonna be in your life regardless. Um, and then to Gotti, it's like I'm not trying to overstep my boundaries. I would love for him to call me mommy, but if you're not okay with that, we can stick to TT Ryan, like basically following his lead. Because it's like, I got feelings for both of y'all, and I'm not trying to overstep in any way. But Gotti tells her, if you're okay with it, then I'm cool. Because his thing was at the same time, I'm not trying to pressure you. We could still be cool. No, let me stop. But yeah, he was like, I don't want you to feel pressured either, like as if you have to do the, like you don't have to. So anyway, um, then Mike starts throwing, dirt on Gotti name, talking about he made him. Now he having his sloppy seconds, whoop de whoop. And while they have their, gang or they crew going on, they are also in beef with the Haitians that are it's based in New York City. I should have said that. So they got beef with the Haitians, but Mike started running with them. And for Gotti's birthday, she was gonna be like his date for his party that he had going on. Now, while Ryan is getting ready, because they really didn't see each other that whole day. He him and P, which is one of Gotti's friends, dropped P's baby mama slash girlfriend off to Ryan so she could do her makeup, and Ryan's best friend, what's her name? Dace. I'm gonna just call her Dace. Was gonna do their hair. So she goes to the store. It's so good. Like this story is so good, y'all. I just cannot stop gushing about it. She had went to the store, and while she was there, she saw Mike. And Mike put his hand, like he grabbed both of her arms really roughly and left marks on her arms. But she didn't tell anybody. Like when she got back to the house, she put makeup on her arms. So that night, Gotti couldn't tell. And it was the first night they actually um went like a step further because they didn't even have sex. Like he gave her head so good, this heifer passed out. Um, and they had sex like the next day. And then while he was ripping and running, he goes to the store to get her a sandwich. Because you know, like how New Yorkers do, they got like a special way of ordering sandwiches, whoop de whoop, whatever. Um, it gets into a conversation about Mike. Like he shows the what do they call him? The Poppy. They call him Poppy. They showed him a picture of Mike, and okay, my bad. I'm moving a little forward. The sandwich he ordered, he was like, you must be ordering it for the lady who was in here yesterday because she ordered it exactly the same way. And then the Poppy tells him about her interacting with some guy who was being like really rough with her until he pulled out his bat and told him he had to get out. So then he shows him the picture of Mike and is like, yeah, that's him. Because the guy said, he's not like the rest of them. Because the Haitians was standing outside the store, but Gotti walked in with no problem. Like, these niggas don't scare me. I got a gun just like they got a gun. So it is what it is. Um, but yeah, the Poppy was like, he's different because he looks like, and forgive me because I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he was like, he looks like an Arab because I guess he had like well, described in the book, he has like a long beard, and he's lighter skinned. He's not dark skinned like the Haitians that stand outside. And so when he takes the sandwich to Ryan, they kind of have like a back and forth about the situation because it's like, why didn't you say anything about these marks on your arm and him approaching you and getting rough with you? And they kind of just let it lay low. But Gotti is like searching for him because he's like, I'm gonna put that nigga in the dirt. Like he gotta see me. Um, so he shows up to her place of business because she has her own business, her own shop, and they talk about it again after deciding like they're gonna go on a trip because Dace is pregnant, so they can't party how they usually do and take like a trip every year. So Gotti says, we can go instead, just get away. It'll just be me and you. But then somehow that goes into the conversation of him whooping Mike's ass because he's like, I haven't found him yet, but when I do find him, like, I'm gonna put that nigga in the dirt. And she's like, he has a son, like, what you gonna tell MJ? Like, you can't just kill him for that. Like, I understand and I thank you for wanting to respect my honor, but you gotta actually think about this. And he like, man, I ain't trying to hear none of that. You don't know how the streets work. It's just certain things you don't do. So they kind of have a little spat and walk away from each other. But then before she can even pull out the parking lot, he tells her to come into his car, and he's like, it's a few things we need to get straight. We need to be mindful of how we speak to each other, and we just have to understand. Okay, sorry y'all yet again, because for some reason I did not turn this alarm off that I had set, and it went off twice on me, cutting off my audio. Like, damn, respect the bitch space. So where was we? So after that night, she goes home and it's shown on the news that somebody threw I forgot what is it called. It's like slipping my mind right now. But you know the it's like a bomb in the bottle, the in the shop. So anyway, her shop was burned down. That's the bottom line. Her shop was burned down. And so at first she's really upset. She cries about it. But Gotti promises her, he like, I'm gonna find out who did it. Don't even worry about it. So she goes to sleep crying. But the next morning when she wakes up, she's going on about her business as usual, and Gotti looking at her like, what's going on? Where you going? She's like, I got to file an insurance claim and I gotta look for a new place to start over. Like, I'm not gonna let this keep me down. I got stuff to do. Like I was sad for a minute, but a bitch is back and we finna keep it moving. And that makes him like her even more because it's like, I like that. Don't let that hold you down. And plus I'm gonna find out who did it. And it's whatever. And plus Gotti, like he got more things going on than just being in the drug game. The nigga can rap. He be in the studio. Cause how could I let this slip my mind? When it was on Wattpad, Gotti was Dave East with his fine, fines. Oh Jesus, Dave East is so fine. Um, and with him playing Method Man, like Anyway, this is not for me, Lester. Jesus. So, so where was I? Look at me, being trifling, being fast. I forgot where I was at. So, right, they game. Lord have mercy. Look at me forgetting all types of people. Cause I know what I'm gonna say is gonna be taking that shade, and it's not meant to be. But how I I complain about Siobhan Latrice having too many side stories with people. Like everybody get a chapter, everybody got a business, and it's dragged out to like 4 or 5 books. And all the way, it's like you get the side stories, but it's all in one, and they're not the main focus either. It's like this book is really about Ryan and Gotti, but you also have like other stories going around as well. So Dame is like Gotti's right hand man, who, like I said, how they're all intertwined. Ryan also knew because Dame is dating Days, who is Ryan's best friend. So she knew him as well. But anyway, Dame and Gotti, like they're doing like contracting. They have that type of business going on. So he's into more things than one. But of course, with the drug game, that's really like the bread and butter. And Gotti's sitting on a few millions. Um, but they find out actually that P, Gotti's friend and a part of the crew, his baby mama's twin brother who runs with the Haitians was the one who threw the bomb into her shop. And they find him, bring him into, they got him in a trap in was it the red room or just the room they had in the basement? Anyway, so they get him there and Ryan is there. Um and she is pissed. She has a condition called IED, and I think what is it? Intermittent, is it intermittent or intermissive explosive disorder, where she basically spazzes out, for lack of better terms, and just like loses her shit and is upset. So they, like, first she's trying to calm down, she's not saying nothing, and when Gotti gets her to the trap, Dame tells him, let her down in the room with him so she could let all that out. Because she's not saying nothing to anybody. She's really just like to herself trying to control it. But Dame's like, no, let her loose. So anyway, they take her down there, and Ryan just like goes off on that nigga. She's stomping him out. She's speaking in her native tongue, or her mother's native tongue, because her mother is from Barbados, I believe. And so it's just like she's going off until she like just finally lets it all out and she's drained. And so after that, her friend Christina, who she hasn't talked to in a long time, they get back in contact with each other. So Christina is coming around more, and Ryan is seeing like less of Dace because not only is she pregnant, but she feels like them two, basically the whole crew says, when they get together, it's a problem. But they want to fight the baby mama Aaron because it's like, why the fuck is your twin brother throwing bombs in people's shop? And of course, Aaron is kind of like on the side of her brother, but Gotti intercepts that because one night this heifer made like a Wolverine, um, what is that, with the claws like on her hand and had her hand wrapped up. She was dressed in all black. Christina was about to come pick her up. They was about to ride down on Aaron, but he like, man, nah, we not doing all that. Instead, he takes her to the plane and they start and they trip early. And so they spend a beautiful like week out of the country, just doing them, making their relationship even more solid. But when they get back home and he drops her off, because he got drop offs to make, MJ calls him while he's out and says, please come back home. And he's like, what's going on? And while nobody has been able to find Mike all this time, Mike shows up to her apartment and MJ says, like they heard yelling, but now they don't hear anything. And he's scared because he did call his dad. So that's why Mike showed up. But it's just like he feels like it's his fault, whatever's going on. So Gotti and Dame like rush back to the house and he tells Dame, go find the kids. And he's looking for Ryan. And he finds her on the floor bloody and the kids come out to see that. So MJ really feels like it's his fault whatever his dad did to Ryan because he's the one that called him. So Mike like really did a number on her. When she's in the hospital, she has a few seizures and the end result is she now has epilepsy and she's having seizures, so now she has to take medication. Her arm was in a cast, and so it's just like once again the nigga goes on the run. But they like when we find him, it's like I wasn't gonna kill that nigga then, but now I'm really gonna kill him. So she's healing in the process, and they talk about marriage, and it's like while it does seem fast, Gotti makes a great point. He was like, we done been through so much already, and we've handled it with grace. And I love you, you love me. We got the kids. Like, what's the next step? We might as well get this thing done. And I love this because it's whatever works for you, in my opinion. Because it's like, you have people who have been together for a long time and never get married, or you have people that just meet and get married and they be together forever. And that just seems like the case with Gotti and Ryan. Like they're meant to be together, which low key is true because we find out that the night that Mike met Ryan, Gotti saw her first, but Mike like looked to where he was looking at and told him to go half with him on buying out the bar so he can impress Ryan. And he went over to talk to Ryan first. So it's kind of like Gotti missed out and Mike was really on some hating shit. Um, so after she gets her cast off, she finds out that Gotti has slipped the engagement ring down in there on her finger, so she didn't know it was there. And it was kind of like a surprise. So after she gets her cast off, her and Christina go to see Dace because it's like You ain't been picking up the phone. Ain't nobody really heard from you. What's going on with you? And they had tried to call Ryan like earlier in the week, but the medication makes her like tired all the time. She gets sick and she like throws up and stuff like that. So she couldn't really talk on the phone. And she felt a way about that. And she was trying to tell her that she thinks that Dame is cheating again. So they go pull up on her to get the conversation out the way because it's like, what is going on? Like, I'm not understanding where this attitude is coming from. And Dace explains the story of how a girl came into her shop saying that her and her friend met some drug dealers and how he spent some money on her um for her to get her hair done. And basically, Ryan and Christina said it didn't make no sense because it's like everybody in the city know that y'all together. Like it's not a secret who Dame's girlfriend is, and everybody know that you having a baby. So it's just like this story not making sense. And you just let her sit in your chair popping all this good shit. And this gets mad saying, y'all think he's so perfect. The nigga ain't perfect. And Christina, you ain't nothing but a hoe. And Ryan, you ain't nothing but a glorified babysitter because these niggas get with you and just drop their kids off on you. And Gotti ain't gonna want to be with you forever dealing with that epilepsy. So, you damaged goods. And Ryan punched her in the face. She only hit her once, which I applaud because listen, if you've heard any of my earlier reviews, I don't care for children, so that ain't none of my business. And if you pop shit knowing that you're pregnant, you are responsible for the actions that follow. Because it's like you are provoking somebody and thinking they just gonna sit there and let you talk to them crazy just because you're pregnant. No, no, ma'am. And it's like I understand that emotions run high when you're pregnant, but you also just don't get to do whatever you want just because you are pregnant. Like that's not how that works either. Um, but then they leave and go to her house, and at first she was just gonna like cook dinner for the quote unquote fam because Ryan just has that type of vibe. Like she's the motherly type of person. Like she just has that type of vibe. But it turns into like a fish fry with some more people from another book that Ari Glenn wrote. I gotta find that one. I never did get that one. I just have this one that I love so much. I reread this book I don't know how many times. Um, and she has to tell Gotti and Dame what happened because Gotti asks her, how did it go today? And she's telling him, like, I got into it with Dace and I hit her. And Dane is sitting down and saying, he's like, you did what? So she like, come on, let's go in the house. So it's not a big like spectacle. And she's running down the story of what happened. And Dame is like, she ain't said none of this to me. So, and it's just like, so how you popping off on everybody else but ain't addressing the problem with the person that really matters, which is your nigga. So, Gotti tells her, basically fuck her. She sound like a hater, and that's not your friend. Because why would your friend say something like that to you? And it basically sound like she jealous. So he's like, man, fuck her. Don't even worry about it. And so, they have their wedding, which is so cute. It was an intimate, like little setting between them and their family. And MJ now wants to call her mom as well because he always just called her Ryan. But he's like, she's always felt like a mom to me more than my actual mom. Because really, like, MJ was dealt a shitty hand. His mama basically a hoe running the streets. Don't ever really have him. MJ was more so either with Ryan and Mike when he was around or Mike's mother. So he was like, Ryan has always felt like my mom, and he's now went from calling Gotti Uncle G to calling him Pops. So, they have their ready-made family. And although she wants to get pregnant with the medicine that she's on now and how it causes seizures and can cause, like it's just not a good time. But what happens after that? Like she found a better shop. He built, well, not built, he bought them like a nice house that has like a big backyard, swimming pool. He's focusing more on his construction business. And like life is just real smooth until once again it's some drama with the Haitians and with Daisy. Like she was, it's such a shame because Ryan was like, this was my best friend since the fourth grade. Where is this coming from? And it's like, sadly, she was in your life for that amount of time, but that girl was never your friend. She was always hating. Because come to find out, every boyfriend that Ryan had or any guy that she liked, Dace would sleep with them to prove that they wasn't like really into her like that or were just trying to use her and to basically like, girl, that ain't the one for you. He tried to get with me or he slept with me and like I fucked him, da 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 da, whatever, whatever. And it was such a shame because it's just like to find out that that heifer slept with Mike too. And she low key had a crush on Gotti, but it's like, girl, you was with Dame. That was never gonna go anywhere. So it's like, yeah, you told me about your crush, but that's all it was a crush. Like, this is actually my nigga. We're in love. We actually go together. So how are you mad about any fucking thing? So they like just kind of find out she was a hater all around. So after she had the baby, and Dame, he gets his visitation and gets his time with the baby, they go on like a family vacation. And while the first time when Ryan's shop got set on fire, Gotti brought Chase around, who was like they tech guy because he had like a security he has a security business, so he had all of that on lock. Him and Christina got together. Like they tried it out, it didn't really work, but he was around. And what am I trying to say? Yeah, so while they were together, my bad, that's where I was going with that. That's what made it like a family vacation. It was Ryan, Gotti, Chase, Christina, and Dame. Was P there? Nope, it was just them. And Gabe, MJ, and the baby, Cian or Cian. I'm gonna say Cian. Um, but when they come back from the trip, uh the police is knocking at Ryan and Gotti's door talking about they're arrested for kidnapping, and she's there with the guy, which I'm still not understanding. It's like, why was she there doing all that hooping and hollering, talking about there she is, they kidnapped my baby, and like I didn't give them permission. But it's just like you keep saying them. The child was with her father. But there's no telling, like, if they had legal papers filed saying he could take her anywhere, all that hoopla. Um, but because Ryan has epilepsy, excuse me, and she still has her IED, she explodes and basically headbutts an officer and is arrested because of the bullshit that Daisy is going through. Um, It was just a mess, child. And like I said, he got his construction business. He got out the game, but had to get back in the game because there was some more BS with the Haitians. And Ryan wasn't feeling that because um, she got pregnant. She did get pregnant. Like it got to the point where it was safe enough for her to have a baby. So they have a baby girl, Gia, and that's right around the time he had to get back into the game to handle some stuff. And she wasn't feeling that. She tells him, like, either you want this marriage and this family or you want the drug game. Because we at a point in our life where Both of our businesses are doing good, so you really don't need that. So what you trying to do? And so he did go do like that last job, but then he came back and made everything right with her. So they live happily ever after with their three kids, and she gets pregnant again and has twins. Because when she was in the hospital, from when Mike put her in the hospital, she had like a dream of later on in life with MJ and Gabe being older. Then there was this little baby girl in the picture, and then she was pregnant again. So when she woke up, she told Gotti about that. He was like, "Oh, we need to make it happen." So, and all of that did come to fruition. It's just a really good book. I highly encourage that y'all go read it for yourselves because I feel like I'm not doing it justice. And I really love this book. So please go check it out. Again, her name is Ari Glenn, spelled Ariglenn, and the book is titled All the Way. Peace and blessings, my beautiful people, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, I said and are going to enjoy the upcoming holidays. Lord, I can't speak. But anyway, peace out, y'all.